Okay, so you want to own a golf course. Buy some land, cut some grass, sell a few tee times, and let the sun do the rest. Here's what most people picture: rolling green fairways, a clubhouse with a nice bar, members handing over fat checks every January, and the owner riding a cart around his own private kingdom while the money quietly stacks up. And why wouldn't you think that? Have you seen what a round costs now? $100 to walk 18 holes on a Saturday. Multiply that by a few hundred golfers a day, and surely that lands in somebody's pocket. Here's the truth. The United States has roughly 16,000 golf courses generating a combined industry revenue of about $35 billion a year. And yet a huge share of those courses barely break even, and plenty of them lose money outright. The question was never whether the money shows up. It does. The question is where it drains out before it ever reaches the owner. And by the end of this, you'll understand exactly where and why one dry summer can erase 3 good years. Before you spend a single dollar, understand this. The phrase golf course covers wildly different businesses, and each one makes money in a completely different way. There's the municipal course, the one your city owns and runs. Cheap green fees, high volume, thin or non-existent margins, because it exists to serve the public, not to enrich anyone. Then there's the daily fee public course. This is the workhorse of the industry. Anyone can pay and play. A well-run mid-range public course pulling $30 to $60 a round can hit revenues north of $1 million, with net margins somewhere in the mid-teens when everything goes right, and nowhere near that when it doesn't. Then there's the private members club. No walk-ins. Revenue comes from initiation fees and annual dues, not tee times. And at the very top, the destination resort course, where a single round can cost several $100s, and the golf is really just bait for the hotel, the spa, and the real estate. What they all share is this: the golf is the part you see. The invisible part: water, payroll, chemicals, equipment, debt, and weather you cannot control, is what actually decides whether the owner builds wealth or quietly goes under. Let's start at the beginning, because the beginning is brutal. Building an 18-hole course from raw land is one of the most expensive small business launches there is. Depending on the land, the terrain, and the ambitions, construction alone runs anywhere from around $5 million on the modest end to $15 million for a serious build and $25 million or more for a luxury course. That's before the clubhouse. And a big chunk of that number, often 40 to 50%, is just acquiring enough land, because a course needs a lot of it, typically 120 to 200 acres. Then you have to make that land actually playable. That means shaping fairways and greens. It means an irrigation system buried under the entire property, which is a small fortune on its own. It means bunkers, cart paths, drainage, and a clubhouse with a pro shop, a kitchen, and a bar. By the time the first golfer tees off, an owner can easily be tens of millions of dollars deep, most of it borrowed. And that debt payment shows up every single month whether it rains or not. This is why most people don't build, they buy. And here's the strange part. Because so many courses struggle, existing courses often sell for a fraction of what they cost to build. But a cheap purchase price is a trap if the reason it's cheap is that the thing loses money. People badly underestimate what it costs just to keep the grass alive. They picture a guy on a riding mower. What it actually takes looks very different. The nationwide average maintenance budget for a single 18-hole course now sits close to $1 million a year, and in expensive or dry regions it climbs well beyond that. That's the number that quietly eats owners alive. Start with the equipment fleet. A course needs specialized mowers for greens, for fairways, for tees, and for the rough. And these are not lawn mowers. A single fairway mower can run over $100,000. Greens mowers, aerators, sprayers, top dressers, utility carts, a fleet of rental golf carts, a full equipment package can easily total well over $1 million, and it wears out and gets replaced on a rolling schedule. Then there's the crew. A golf course superintendent, the person responsible for keeping every blade of grass alive, now earns an average of around $120,000 a year, with assistants and a seasonal grounds crew underneath them. And their real cost to the business is higher than the salary, once you add payroll taxes, workers' comp, health insurance, and training. This is not a job you can skip. A course that lets its turf deteriorate loses golfers fast, and golfers do not come back to bad greens. And then there's the one input no other business has to think about like this: water. A single course can drink hundreds of thousands, even 1 million gallons in a night during peak season. In water-cheap regions, the bill is modest. In the desert Southwest, water costs can run into the hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and that's assuming you're even allowed to buy it. Chemicals, fertilizer, fungicide, pesticide, add another heavy, recurring line item. This is the part nobody tees up to think about. The product you're selling is grass, and grass is expensive to keep perfect. Now, revenue. A golf course makes money through a few channels, and understanding how they stack together is the entire game. The first is green fees, the money golfers pay to play. The average public course in America hosts over 30,000 rounds a year, and a healthy, busy course can push toward 40,000 before the turf starts showing the strain. Here's the beautiful thing about a tee time. It's almost pure profit. The grass is already cut, the staff is already there. Whether that 8 o'clock slot sells or sits empty, the cost is nearly the same. So every round sold above the break-even point drops almost entirely to the bottom line, and every unsold tee time is revenue that's gone forever. You cannot store a Tuesday morning and sell it in July. The second channel is memberships and dues. At a private club, this is the whole model. A few hundred members paying thousands a year, providing steady, predictable income that covers the fixed costs even when the weather is bad. Lock in enough loyal members and you've got a base you can actually plan around. Third, carts. Cart fees carry very high margins, because once you own the fleet, renting them out is nearly free money. Fourth, food and beverage, the clubhouse restaurant and the beer cart out on the course. And fifth, the pro shop, selling clubs, balls, and apparel, usually at a modest markup. Here's the part that surprises people. On many courses, golf itself is not where the best margins live. Food, drink, weddings, corporate outings, and events are often what push a struggling course into the black. A course that fills its calendar with tournaments and banquets is running two businesses at once, a golf operation and a hospitality operation. And the second one frequently subsidizes the first. Which brings us to the thing that keeps every course owner up at night: weather. You have built a multi-million-dollar business whose entire revenue depends on the sky. A cold, wet spring means empty tee sheets and refunded rounds you can never recover. A drought means enormous water bills at the exact moment fewer people are playing. A single bad summer can wipe out a year of profit, and unlike most businesses, there is nothing you can do about it. The overhead never pauses. The loan payment never pauses. The grass still needs water even when no one is playing. Most course failures aren't dramatic. There's no single disaster. There's a slow accumulation of small problems that quietly compound until the business can't cover its bills. It usually starts with debt taken on at the top of the market. Then rounds soften, or a competitor opens nearby and undercuts on price. The owner defers maintenance to save cash. The turf slips. Golfers notice and drift away. Revenue falls, so maintenance gets cut again, and the course enters a spiral that's very hard to climb out of. And this is layered on top of a hard demographic truth. For years, more courses were closing in America than opening. The country overbuilt golf in the boom years, and the correction has been going on for a while. Roughly 118-hole courses closing every year even recently, while rounds played have actually hit record highs. That's the strange squeeze. More people are playing than ever, on fewer courses than before. Great news if your course is well run and well located. A death sentence if it isn't. So let's do the realistic math on a mid-range public course. Say it does 35,000 rounds a year and pulls in around $1.3 million across green fees, carts, and the clubhouse. On the optimistic side, with tight cost control, a full event calendar, and cooperative weather, that course might keep somewhere in the mid-teens as net margin. Call it $180,000 to $250,000 in a genuinely good year. That's a real business. Now the realistic side. Assume a wet spring costs you 3,000 rounds. Assume a heavy debt payment from when the course was bought. Assume water and fuel costs came in high. Suddenly that margin isn't in the teens. It's near zero, or negative. The difference between a great year and a losing year on the same course, with the same grass and the same members, can be a couple $100,000, and almost none of it is about how many golfers exist. It's about debt, weather, and discipline, but it depends entirely on which version of the business you build. A single course, run by an owner-operator, can be a good living and a genuine lifestyle, but the income lives and dies with that one property and that one region's weather. The first real step up is treating the course as a hospitality business, not a golf business, maximizing events, weddings, and food and beverage so the calendar stays full even when the tee sheet doesn't. Above that is the premium private or resort model, where you stop competing on price entirely and sell exclusivity, and the margins reflect it. But the model that has actually built wealth in this industry is ownership at scale. A company that owns or manages dozens of courses shares purchasing power on equipment and chemicals, spreads its administrative overhead thin, and can absorb a bad year at one property with a good year at another. By that point, the owner isn't running a golf course. They're running a management platform. The money comes from the system, not from any single set of greens. It would be dishonest to talk about the future of golf economics without naming the two forces every owner is watching. The first is water. As droughts intensify and cities compete for a shrinking supply, the courses in dry regions face rising costs and tightening restrictions, and the ones that don't invest now in efficient irrigation and drought-tolerant turf are betting the climate stays kind. The second is land itself. A struggling course often sits on 100-plus acres of developable land, and in a growing city that dirt can be worth more as houses than as fairways, which is exactly why so many have been sold and bulldozed. Owning a golf course is not a passive investment, and it is not a simple grass-cutting business. It's a capital-heavy, weather-exposed, operationally complex enterprise that demands mastery of turf science, hospitality, debt management, and marketing all at once. The barrier to entry is enormous and the margins are thin, and yet the demand is real. Americans are playing more golf than they have in years. The money is absolutely there, but the courses that capture it over the next decade won't necessarily be the ones with the most beautiful fairways. They'll be the ones with the most disciplined operations, the ones that manage water like it's gold, fill every tee time and every banquet hall, price by their real costs instead of guessing at the competition, and treat the property not as a place where people play golf, but as a business that happens to have a golf course attached. The grass will always need cutting. The weather will always be a gamble. The courses that survive won't be the prettiest. They'll be the best-run businesses.